think rugged. When you think tough. When you think big. Think of the best transportation solutions, mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer Trucks. Redefining the road.
It's time for the Curtis Rick Show, the head coach of the 9-time champion Sioux Falls Storm. The Curtis Rick Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute. Together, they are the official health care and complete training team of the Sioux Falls Storm. The Curtis Rick Show on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Here's your host of the Curtis Rick Show, the voice of the Storm, the Silver Fox, Rick Rosty.
And good afternoon. It's going to get hot this week. Glad you joined us. It's cool in here at the KWSN studio. I'm Rich Rossi, and it's United Bowl time for the 7th year in a row. The Sioux Falls Storm have qualified for the Indoor Football League championship game. And coming up on the show today, we're going to be talking to the head coach, the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. We're going to talk to him, first of all, about the intense conference championship game where Spokane defeated the Nebraska Danger 55-44. Now, Spokane is going to be the opponent for the Sioux Falls Storm at the United Bowl coming up on Saturday at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. Then we'll also talk to the coach about the Storm's win over Cedar Rapids in the United Conference title game. They won that game 54-28. It was an interesting game. In some regards, the score is a little bit not indicative of the type of game there was, but then it also was. And, stay tuned. We'll find out about that. And then in our final segment of the show, we're going to be talking to the coach and have a scouting report about the opponent in the United Bowl, the Spokane Empire. And an interesting thing about Spokane, they've had different franchises over the course of the year. They were in the Arena Football League 2, Arena Football League, and now in the Indoor Football League. In the previous two leagues, they have won the title in the first year of their existence within that franchise. They're going to try to make it a three-peat coming up on Saturday if they would defeat the Sioux Falls Storm. Now, also on the show today, we're going to have a couple of Storm players, defensive lineman Brandon Pegues and offensive lineman Rashad Mungro. Rashad was the starting center this past week in the Storm's game against Cedar Rapids because Charlie Sanders was out of town, gone for personal reasons, and we're going to talk to him about the fantastic game that Rashad Mungro had, and also what Brandon Pegues did. His stats don't show big numbers, but what he had as an impact in that game was outstanding. We're going to talk to both of those guys about that. Then after those interviews, then also after we go off the air, we'll be giving away 12 free tickets to the United Bowl, and that's going to be courtesy of Wingstop. And this is the game you want to get free tickets. There's no doubt about it. Also, to give you a heads up, coming up on Friday at 3 o'clock, the IFL is going to have a press conference at the Denny Sanford Premier Center, and that will be aired live right here on KWSN, also streamed out on the stream with KWSN. That's starting at 3 o'clock, the IFL press conference for the United Bowl. So all of that coming up on the show today, and if you can't make it out to the game will be broadcast on our sister station, Kello News Talk AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Pregame show starting at 6:45. Former Storm head coach Mike Aldrich and I will have the call for you. Coming up next is Jim Loria, Director of Corporate Partnerships, and the Curtis Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospitals and also Orthopedic Institute right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
When people think of Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full experience entertainment center. Like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more about the full experience at Eastway Bowl.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roski.
And welcome back to the Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Boyer Trucks right here in Sioux Falls. And he is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm, Jim Loria. Jim, what's on tap for the game, the United Bowl game, as far as your world is concerned?
Well, one big victory, Rich, would go well. No, we actually are going to be putting together a salute to law enforcement.
Cool.
With everything going on in this world, and this was an idea originated by the owner, Todd Tryon, and we're going to have the policemen out at the game and to show a lot of love and support, let them know that they're appreciated for wearing the badge and the courage and bravery, but both men and women doing that job and line of work every day. So that would be significant. We've got the Waterbury Heating and the Coleman Heating and Air Conditioning people have been gracious about helping sponsor this game, and a lot of the details that we do for the public, a lot of it comes out of their partnership that we have. And then, as you would imagine, we're continuing with our final fundraiser of the year, too, and we've got a young man who's 13 years old who's got bone cancer. He's an athlete. It's a real most hard stories. He's plays football, loves the Storm. He plays basketball and was hurt playing basketball, too, his foot, and he ended up having looked after by the docs, and ultimately they found a mass in the heel, and he had to go to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, and they found it to be cancerous in the bone, and it's one of those things where it's not going to go away, and they're going to have to amputate his left leg as a result from it. So it's tough because the boy had dreams of, how he growing up. He wanted to be a big leaguer in sports, and so he's a very competitive athlete at 13, and that's not, I'm not saying that's coming to an end, because you can still play sports using prosthetics, but the competitive part is really going to be tough for him. So, we're going to help him out, and we've had a successful last 2 days. He's got an amazing family support, and the people are really jumping on board with the Storm on this event, so we're looking forward to it.
That's the thing, Jim. Two things. First of all, for you folks listening, when you have a chance, when you see a police officer, go up and thank them. Shake their hand and just thank them, because they are putting their lives on the line. The way the country is right now, it is absolutely crazy, and these people are putting their lives on the line for us every day. Please go up and thank them. Let them know that they are appreciated for that. And the other point that I wanted to bring out, Jim, which is amazing also, is how this has steamrolled as far as these different fundraisers that you've had. You don't have to really go out and solicit. People are calling you, and that just shows what kind of support this community gives to worthy causes.
Well, business-wise, the people really, this city, Rich, more than any, and I've lived in 9 states. This area is amazing. I mean, there's reasons when they say the United Way, I think it's like one of the top grossing cities in America for the United Way contributions. This city is unbelievable, especially for the size. And you think of all the things that go on, and so much gets done in this market area. And this one here, this little boy, it is amazing. I'm telling you, I've been overwhelmed by the support this young man's been getting. It's just been crazy.
Talking to Jim Loria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. Well, Jim, it's always great, the things that you do. We appreciate it so much, and we look for another big night of activities. And you have a silent auction, things like that going on again. Is that correct?
We would, yeah. It'll be once the people enter the building, right up at the main concourse level by the merchandise stand. It'll go on through the end of the halftime. There's a lot of amazing gifts. This one here, Rich, you'll appreciate it. There's a football that came in, and it's one that it's signed by 24 NFL quarterbacks. Many are legends. Guys like even Darryl LaMonica, Ken Stabler, Sonny Jurgensen, Earl Morrill, Johnny Unitas' name's on this ball signature-wise. I mean, it goes down. Len Dawson. I mean, you go down the line, anybody that was big, Joe Montana's got his name on it. All these guys, Steve Young. There's 24 quarterbacks that signed this football that's going to be a huge prize. I think the fans are going to really, really love this one. There's many gifts, don't get me wrong, but this one here is going to stand out.
And the thing about it is, a lot of those great ones are deceased right now, so that makes it even more precious.
Correct, you bet.
Jim, thank you so much. We'll see you Saturday at the United Bowl.
Thank you, Richard. Looking forward to it.
Jim Lauria, Director of Corporate Partnerships with the Sioux Falls Storm. Amazing things what he has done within this community. And please, be generous as you are supporting a tremendous cause for this young man as he faces all of these very critical health issues. Coming up next, we'll be talking to the head coach, Curtis Riggs, about the other game that went on in the IFL this past weekend, the Intense Conference Championship game. We'll be talking about that next. And you're listening to this segment brought to you by Boyer Trucks right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
Success doesn't.
What's the smart way to refresh your home? Get inspired by Granite Transformations. See how easy it is to transform your kitchen or bathroom with gorgeous quartz and granite backed by our lifetime warranty. Plus custom cabinet refacing, all without the mess of a traditional renovation. Explore the exciting possibilities at the New Look, New Style celebration happening now at Granite Transformations. Schedule your free in-home design consultation today.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. And this is a segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, just north of McKinnon Hospital. And just stop by there. They'll take great care of you. And ask for Tim, not Tom. And they have the best bread in town. Joining us via the fan line, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. And, Coach, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Intense Conference Championship game. But first of all, I want to make special announcement, Special Teams Player of the Year. Corey Williams was named by the league, and that is a well-deserved honor, is it not?
It is, yeah. That's one, especially with the Storm, you always hold your breath wondering, are the guys going to get maybe the honors that they deserve? It seems like sometimes, you find other ways to recognize people in the league, and you leave out some of these guys that really deserve it. And Corey, I think, has had a spectacular year, and, I think he's had 5 touchdowns called back, too, on top of that. So it's well-deserved, and it's great to see him recognized.
Yeah, he had a total of 6 returns for touchdowns. And he had 49 kick returns, 1,000 yards in kick returns, plus the guy put together another 34 touchdowns and almost 2,000 all-purpose yards in the season, and he did it very quietly.
That's being a part of the Storm, though. We don't have guys that put up showcase-style numbers, and that's why it's sometimes hard for our guys to get recognized. And, I think you have to look at what a player is asked to do. Some of the guys that put up big numbers also play on teams that win 2 or 3 games, and they get all their stats when the game's out of hand. I mean, and that's plain and simple. That's really what happens, Rich. Especially the receivers. You look at some of these receivers that got all league. They're guys that are getting catches when the game does not matter, and I don't know if that's an all league receiver. So, but Corey did get recognized, well-deserved, and we're extremely happy for him.
Well, there was one game going on other than the Storm game against the Cedar Rapids Titans, but there was one other game. It was the Intense Conference matchup. Spokane was hosting Nebraska Danger, and the final score read 55-44, but during the course of the game, it wasn't even close, was it?
Well, the first half, no. Not at all. The first half, it was over quick, but the second half, Nebraska made it very close. In fact, there was a point where Spokane's at 14, Nebraska on a questionable play. They end up recovering a fumble and run it back for a touchdown, and they call illegal defense against Nebraska. And it was 4th down, and I thought it could have easily been called false start on the quarterback. And Nebraska, even if they don't get the touchdown, they get the ball back down 14, and there's 8 minutes left in the game. I mean, they really fought to make that an interesting game in the second half after a lot of people shut it off because the first half was so bad.
We're going to be talking about this in the final segment with you this afternoon. We're talking to head coach Curtis Riggs, and we're going to have a preview of the Spokane Empire. But they are a first half team. They are not a third quarter team. 5 times this year, they have been scoreless in the third quarter.
Well, I hope we can continue that tradition. Yeah. I think when we played them, wasn't both teams scoreless in the third quarter when we played them in Sioux Falls?
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so hopefully, we can maintain that for them, and hopefully we can get some points against them.
Yeah, Spokane led by as much as 28 points in that first half, but they were outscored by Nebraska by 17 points in the second half. And, you talked about that game as how Nebraska kept fighting back. And we'll talk about that more when we, feature the game coming up, the United Bowl against the Spokane Empire. But I thought there were some interesting things that had happened them, and we'll talk about that more in detail. But if Nebraska could have pulled that off, that would have been the first team with a losing record to get to the United Bowl.
Yeah, and we talked heavily about whichever team you play, how in 2005, I think our guys are sick of hearing it, but how in 2005 we were 8-8.
Uh-huh.
Thankfully, we played Rapid City, I think, 5 times that year. Otherwise, we probably would not have gotten into the playoffs. And then, we got hot. And, sometimes it's just getting the right people back from injuries. Sometimes it's you just start to buy in and click on all cylinders. And that's what, you wondered if Nebraska was doing that. And then, you watch Spokane come out and play with a chip on their shoulder and show everyone they are the best team in that division.
Well, we'll talk more about the Spokane Empire, Coach, when we talk to you in our final segment. We have a scouting report on the United Bowl as the Storm's going to be taking on the Spokane Empire. A new team, but a coach we know an awful lot about in Coach Shackelford. So, Coach, we'll talk to you after a bit.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and this segment brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs, the freshest bread in town. We'll be back with more of the Curtis Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
Your body, a remarkable network of bone, tissue, and joints working in perfect harmony. But when injuries occur, that process can be interrupted. At Orthopedic Institute, orthopedic medicine is all we do. We work to get you up and moving again, recreating that perfect harmony, whatever that may be for you. Orthopedic Institute, we're the one to trust to keep your body in motion.
You're not just disseminating facts. You're not just telling people what happened, but you're having to deal with the people it happened to.
We want to capture the effect. Why is it so important? Why is this happening?
Everything has an effect and everything has an impact. It's more than just providing headlines. It's the idea of this has happened and this is why you should care.
It's the driver of how we do news, because we want people to know that we care.
People that I work with are family. We get more time with the patients to deliver that personalized care.
I know that our patients are satisfied and happy with their outcomes.
And I've had more than one patient say to me, I can really feel that you guys like being here and taking care of patients. And that's wonderful to hear, because that's the truth.
We give the best care in the world.
And just a better overall experience for the patient.
And that's why I chose to come work here at Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge. And they were great sponsors with the Sioux Falls Storm all season long, as they were the Storm away game viewing party hosts. And thank you to Eastway for their great partnership this season with the Sioux Falls Storm. He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs. Last Saturday, the Sioux Falls Storm was in the United Conference Championship game against the Cedar Rapids Titans. You came away with a win 54-28. And there were some interesting things that happened during the course of that game, weren't there?
Well, I think anytime us and Cedar Rapids get together, it's always an interesting battle, and I think this one started off right from the get-go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. When they had their first kickoff of the game, it hits an up blocker for the Sioux Falls Storm, bounces back, and the kicker, Belcher, recovers it at the 4-yard line. They convert that to a touchdown, and it was like, oh, here we go. What's going to happen next?
Yeah, and it's one where, Carrington Hanna, he didn't even have a chance to get out of the way. It hits him and bounces off of him and goes right back to, the kicker, it was like he was playing catch. The ball came right back to him, catches it, drops the ball, jogs off the field, and Cedar Rapids' offense comes out.
Here's our first highlight. Coach Riggs changing the play. Now Lorenzo Brown in shotgun formation. One through the boxes, Tatum fakes the handoff to him. Under pressure is Brown. He dances away from that. Rolls it to the right side. Dives down to the end zone. The referee jumps up on the dasher board. Now he signals touchdown. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. Lorenzo Brown got a 2-yard touchdown run there. One thing I wanted to talk about that, it just seemed like Zoe really managed the game very well last Saturday.
He played outstanding. The guy that couldn't even get first or second team all league dominated the best defense in the league by managing the game, whereas the guy that will probably get MVP of the league, he got destroyed by the best defense in the league. I thought Lorenzo played so outstanding, and it was such it's a game where it wasn't flashy, it wasn't statistical, but he really played well.
And that's the thing we talked about just earlier. Some of the big numbers are put up in games that are out of the question already. But Lorenzo Brown for the night, he was 11 rushes for 70 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He was only 6 of 8 in passing, no interceptions. He had 2 touchdowns. Not flashy numbers like you said, but managed the team and took what the defense gave them and just kept the Storm going forward every series.
He did. I really thought, Rich, he had one of his best games, and at times he made it look so easy against an extremely talented defense.
I talked to Coach Stout afterwards as I was leaving the facility, and he was out there waiting for the bus to fill up before they were heading back to Cedar Rapids. I went up and talked to him, and the poor guy looked shell-shocked. He was like, what happened tonight? It was one of those kind of games that he just walked away from it. I think very stunned and very impressed with what the Storm did.
Well, I think he really felt like this was the year, and I think he felt like with Charlie not playing, it was definitely a distinct advantage for their defense. But you know what? He was also had very strong praise for Lorenzo before the game. He, too, could not believe Lorenzo didn't receive any accolades. He was quick to also recognize that Lorenzo, what he's done leading this team, last year going undefeated, this year going 15-1 up to that point. He's like, I guarantee everyone else in this league would want that, but we're not willing to recognize that. And I think after the game, he definitely felt those same sentiments.
One thing about it, I've met him just briefly and a couple of times, but always seems like a very class act as far as the head coach of Cedar Rapids.
I think he's I don't know, I want to say very similar to me in many ways, to where when he steps on the field, he's an intense competitor. But when you step off the field, he's a very good person, and he's a straight shooter, and he wants guys that really are going to buy into what he's preaching. And I think this year, more so than others, he let a lot of guys go in the off season. They had a lot of guys that got bought by Spokane. I don't mean that illegally. I just mean Spokane paid for restricted free agents, and I think 7 of them were from Cedar Rapids. and he was willing to let them go. And he felt like we can bring in guys that want to be here. We're going to get them to buy in. And that's why I voted for him for Coach of the Year. I thought he did an outstanding job of that this year.
Here's our next highlight. Well, things are getting noisy here at the Denny Stanford Premier Center. The Titans have third down and about 3 yards to go from the Sioux Falls Storm 10-yard line. They'll put two in motion, left slot. Dylan Farr lofts it over to the left side on a touch pass, and he's trying to get that to Mark. They didn't whistle the play dead. They're going to say it's a lateral picked up there by Tyke. Tyler Knight's going to take it to the house. In the end zone, rolls in, touchdown. Wow. Sioux Falls Storm. It was a lateral and a touchdown for the Sioux Falls Storm. Coach, what is the rule for a lateral? What is the rule for a lateral, and why was that play still live?
Well, it's just like a fumble. I mean, if it's thrown backwards, it's just like a fumble, so it's a live ball. And Brandon Pegues, he had a check where he had to go with the back. And early in the season, that would have been something that he would have never done. He would have gone after the quarterback. He would have wanted to sack. Instead, though, he played within the scheme, and that's what got our defense a touchdown. And it was funny. The guys said that Tyler Knight, Superman, must have left his cape in the locker room because when he took off to dive into the end zone, there wasn't a whole lot of lift when he was jumping. There wasn't a lot of flying into that end zone. So he's gotten a lot of grief about that.
I bet he has. Adam Hicks was on the broadcast with me, and Adam is so intelligent with football, and he sees the field so very much. He sees things that I certainly never will see. But he talked about Brandon Pegues all night long, how he didn't get in the play in the stat book, but he disrupted things in so many different ways.
Yeah, I think he and Claude both really did a lot of good things. Brian Keys and Brian Bennett, I thought all of them, they did a good job for the most part, keeping Favre in the pocket, and they were getting hits on him as he was throwing, and those they take their toll. I mean, the quarterback wants to get rid of it a little bit sooner, try to throw in a little tighter window, and it allows those DBs to take a few more chances.
Here's our next highlight. So now with the clock stopped, 33 seconds. Storm has one timeout remaining. They have the ball. Second down and 2 from the 21-yard line of Cedar Rapids. From the shotgun, under pressure, throws it upfield. Was that a catch made there by Brandon Johnson-Farrell? But then he drops the football and is scrambling in the end zone. Who's got it? Nobody. Who's got it? Does the Storm have it? We can't tell. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Holy help me, Hannah. What a wild, crazy play that was. And Caleb Holly wound up in the bottom of the pile, and he pulls that football out for a Storm touchdown. A couple of things about that. The catch by BJ was unbelievable. Then the fumble happened, and then it was a melee after that.
Yeah, that was. We had a great play dialed up, and it was so open. Lorenzo just he rushed it, and he threw, a poor pass to BJ, and BJ made a spectacular catch that no one probably even noticed. I mean, he made a one-handed catch on his shoulder, falling down, and he gets up to take off and run, and Jeremiah Price, who I think he was Defensive Player of the Year and well-deserved, chases him down, strips the ball, and then it was like a rugby match after that. And the thing I loved, though, was our guys were going for that ball. Our linemen all were hustling down, diving into that pile, trying to get that ball. It just showed how much the guys wanted it.
Here's our next highlight. Favre is going to spin Mark out to the right side. Ballantyne will be in the right slot. Receivers deep on both sides. They're in motion. Favre looking right. But intercepted. It was Davis. Went up and got his second knockdown of the night, and he almost brought that one in for a pick. Claude Davis on the night, 7 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. He had a forced fumble and 4 knockdowns. Claude Davis on the night.
Yeah, the coaches were giving the defensive backs grief that Claude, statistically had more PBUs than all of them together, and came as close to interceptions as Matt Hermanson did. And Matt had some easy ones to catch that he'd love to have those back. Claude played very well. He played intelligent, and that's what we really need with Claude. We need him When he gets those arms up, he is it's tough. It's really tough to throw around him. And so he did a good job mixing it up, rushing, and then sometimes subtly, just playing back a little bit, getting his hands up, and really making it tough for Favre.
We're going to go to our next highlight here. Storm is up by 12. Cedar Rapids had the ball with an opportunity to make it a one-possession game. Now their defense is going to have to rise to keep the Storm out of the end zone. Storm going to run the football, gives it there to Brendan Johnson. Farrell, he'll just waltz in. Tremendous blocking at the point of attack. Touchdown, Sioux Falls Storm. Coach, I can't tell you how much I appreciated what the offensive line did that night with Charlie gone, Rashad Mungro going to center, and they did not allow a sack against the best two sackers in the entire league.
Yeah, and we ran the ball down their throat, too, at times when they knew we were going to run the ball. I mean, that's very humbling for, a defense when you know the team's going to run it and you can't stop them. And I thought Mungro was MVP, and we'll see if Charlie's able to play this week or not. Who knows? But I think Mungro really showed that he can step in and do a lot to help this team and never once complained about it. Just went about his business. That's how he is.
Yep.
And I think, we have 4 all-league guys up front. We're very lucky.
We're going to be talking to Brandon Pegues and also Rashad Mungro a little bit later in the Curtis Riggs show. Here's our last highlight. Elmore splits to the right side. Watkins in motion right. Back to pass Favre. Fires. Tipped away. Claude Davis. It's tipped into the hands of Blackman. And he's going to return it. And he's going to be upended and tackled down at the 14-yard line. But an interception on a tip ball by Claude Davis, his 4th tip pass of the night.
Wow.
And for the night, Blackman had 2 interceptions. Coach, you had great things done by all different parts of your ball club, offensively and defensively. I really thought it was an entire team effort in that win last Saturday.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, statistically, when you look at it, it's really weird. I mean, we only ran 28 plays. We only passed 8 times. But we had great field position. I mean, we were very effective offensively. And defensively, we had very much that bend but not break mentality. And we made it very difficult for Cedar. And that you could see the frustration. They wanted those home runs. They couldn't get them. They had to work their way down the field. And it was frustrating for them.
One thing that we talked about during the course of the broadcast was the time of possession, which is something we very seldom talk about. But 43 minutes for Cedar Rapids, 16 minutes for the Sioux Falls Storm. And it's a credit to Ryan Brink and the training crew for the defense being in such good shape that they could still be dominant after being on the field that many minutes during the course of a contest.
It is. Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, especially those guys up front. That's where it really takes a toll is on those defensive linemen, and they were very good throughout the night.
Coach, any other final comments about the game against Cedar Rapids where you were victorious 54-28?
Well, I think, a lot of people, once again, thought this was the year that Cedar was going to beat us, and the guys have done as they have all year. I mean, they stepped up to the challenge and answered the call and played great football. And many people thought, a month later, I mean, there were so many excuses being made. I couldn't believe, how many excuses people were saying, well, they haven't played for a month. Charlie, is out, and they're going to be so rusty. And I just felt like, what, everyone's making excuses. But the guys, they came back from the break, and they were hungry. They were excited and ready to go, and we had some of the best practices that we've had all season, and so hopefully now we can carry that over into the championship game. Well,
there's one more game coming up on Saturday, United Bowl against the Spokane Empire, and you can hear it on our sister station at Kela News Talk AM 1320 and FM 107.9. Coach, we'll talk to you after a bit, and we'll have a preview of that game against the Spokane Empire.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and this pregame or this recap of the game brought to you by Eastway Bowl and Eastway Lounge, a great partnership all season long. Coming up next, we're going to be talking to Brandon Pegues on the Curtis Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
At Midwest Family Care,
Breathe easier when you have your ducts cleaned by Waterbury. Call us today. Save on your energy bill with the new furnace from Waterbury. Call for your free estimates.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Roski.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. It's more than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And after the interview, we'll take the third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the United Bowl on Saturday night. Just received a text message from the Indoor Football League, and the most valuable player of the year has been announced. It is Charles McCullum, quarterback for the Wichita Falls Nighthawks. Congratulations. Charles McCullum named the most valuable player this year of the IFL. Joining us via the fan line, he is a defensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm, Brandon Pegues. Brandon, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, this game this past week, one of the guys that does the game with me, Adam Hicks, former kicker with the Sioux Falls Storm, and he's able to pick up a lot of things that I don't always see as far as the game as it progresses, because I have to follow the ball and follow the play and things like that. But Adam Hicks talked about Brandon Pegues all night long, about how you were always in the play or disrupting it. Tell us about this game that you had this past Saturday night.
I was just out there trying to do my part to help us win. You know, Coach says don't try to do anything extra, just do your job, and everything else will fall into place.
Well, that's one of the things that Coach Riggs talked about in his segment earlier, is the fact that during that play, that lateral pass that Tyler Knight took for a touchdown, that you were doing what you were supposed to be doing and not chasing the quarterback where you could maybe have gotten a sack, but you were actually following that receiver out of the backfield, and that created that play. You know, tell us about that play and what your responsibilities were.
The coach, we had just came out of a timeout, and I think it's like BOA 1 spy. It's where T. Knight is supposed to be blitzing, and the defensive end takes the back out the backfield. And he was just saying, you know, watch out for the back, because sometimes he'll switch sides, and if you switch sides, that means you got him. And so I was just so happy to be watching, and he did, and I took off. And all my buddies been ragging on me all week. Man, you could have turned your head and had a pick. And I was just like, well, I'm just going to get this pass break up, get us off the field, not even thinking that it was a lateral pass. And I just got in the way of a couple linemen so T. Knight could get up the field when I seen he picked it up.
You know, how long have you been with the Storm now?
It's my first year.
This is your first year. You know, when you came here, you know, you'd played other places and done different things. You know, what's it been like for you to be on a team that has been so successful and the things that you've learned this year? Tell us about this year for Brandon Pegues.
Well, it's been amazing and a real time to learn and see how champs do it. I've been with, like you said, plenty of different teams, but you know, it's different when you're in a winning environment. It's not really so much about you; it's more about the team, and you know what needs to be done to win. And that's what I learned. You know, is take yourself out of it. You know, it's more about the team. Do your part. Do your job. You know, don't try to do anything out of the ordinary. You know, do your job, and everything will work out. And it is proven week after week for us in the Storm.
You know, that's the thing, that a lot of guys have come and gone out of this organization because they didn't understand the fact about doing their job. Because when you do your job, that's going to give an opportunity to somebody else to be successful. And if they do their job, that's going to give you an opportunity to be successful. And that's why it works so very well. Now, tomorrow, or Saturday night, the Sioux Falls Storm going to be taking on Spokane, and you've played them a couple of times and have had some tight games and games that were a little bit farther apart, but it's playing for the ring. What are you thinking about this week of getting yourself ready for this game Saturday night?
Watch our last two games we played against them, and their last game they played against the Danger. See anything that might have changed, and just see where I can get better from week to week playing that team, and get ready to just do my job.
Well, you couldn't have said it any better. Brandon, thank you for everything that you've done with the Sioux Falls Storm this year. Congratulations on such a big win and a big contribution to that win last Saturday. But knowing you, that's still not good enough. You still got to get better for this coming one.
Yes, sir.
Brandon Pegues, defensive lineman with the Sioux Falls Storm. What a player he is. And coming up next, we'll be talking to Rashad Mungro. And when we go to break, we'll take your third call at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the United Bowl coming up on Saturday at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN.
The Sheridan.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Rosti.
And welcome back to The Curtis Riggs Show. This segment brought to you by Wingstop of Sioux Falls. It's more than a meal, it's a flavor experience. And after the interview, we'll take the third caller at 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the United Bowl on Saturday. This one is going to be a dandy against the Spokane Empire. And joining us via the fan line, he is Rashad Mungro. Rashad, thanks for being on the Curtis Riggs Show.
Thanks for having me.
I have to say this. You have been such a tremendous team player this year. It seems like no matter what the coaching staff asks of you, you are there, you do it, and you do it well. And sometimes you haven't been on the field, and you take that in stride also, but you still keep coming back and contributing to the Sioux Falls Storm.
Yes. It's the nature of the game, the business. You never know what's going to happen to you, and just like that, you never know when your number is going to be called. So I just try to make sure I'm in the right position to help the team out as much as I can when I'm called upon.
Well, you were called upon this past weekend. Charlie Sanders had a personal commitment that he was going to be gone for. The team knew about it all season long, and you stepped up big time because you were facing 2 defensive linemen that lead the league in sacks, and you and your compatriots, Bryant and Smith, and you guys did not give up a sack all night long, and that is a tribute to what you guys did at that offensive line.
All right, thank you.
Tell us what it was like for you going out there. Have you played much center in your career?
No, not really, but not until my first year here with the Storm. I actually played center twice in 2014. I kind of filled in for Charlie again. For whatever reason it was. I think they were trying to arrest him or something like that. But I played one game against Cedar Rapids and then another one against the Texas Revolution.
But, a center isn't something that you just go and pick up because it's a whole bunch of different stuff. You got to snap the ball. You got to have the coordination between you and the quarterback. You have to be setting up the blocking schemes. You got a guy that's across you that's snorting blood that wants to tear right through you. I mean, you got a lot of things going on in your mind. How were you able to acclimate yourself to becoming a center so quickly?
You just got to have a short memory, and you just got to realize, that it all begins and starts with you at the center. If I thought first, I got to worry about getting a snap because if you can't get the snap off, then the play can't get started. And then I just told myself, that they wouldn't put me in that position to play center unless they felt that I could do it. So that kind of helped keep me calm.
Which do you prefer, snapping when the center or when the quarterback is under center or in shotgun?
I think under center.
Oh, really?
Yeah, under center because, the the room for error. It's not as great because the center. I mean, at center when the quarterback is right under you, you can feel his hands, and then, it's a lot easier to aim at two hands that are right there than as opposed to, the quarterback being 5 yards behind you.
Now, when you're playing center against Cedar Rapids, we're talking to Rashad Mungro of the Sioux Falls Storm on the Curtis Riggs Show. When you're playing center against these guys, how were you able to neutralize them as well as you did the other night?
It just comes from experience of playing against them. Granted, I was at center. I played against them both respectively at right and left guard before, so I kind of had a general idea of what their tendencies were, and then watching some film to see what they did against the center helped as well.
So when you line up, you're 6'6" and what, 310, something like that?
No, I'm actually 340 now.
Oh, you're 340 now.
Yeah.
Went through training table twice a couple times.
Yep. When you get injured, you kind of limited as to what you can do for a while. So I definitely did a lot of eating.
But when you were up against those guys from Cedar Rapids, and they were big, Jackson's, got more mass, and Price is more lanky. Which is easier? Which is more difficult to block?
I feel personally, I think the smaller guys are a little bit easier. I mean, they're definitely a lot quicker, more shifty, but usually once you get your hands on them, it slows them down. Whereas when you're going against the bigger guys, they have a little more weight coming at you.
Well, one thing about it, if you can get your hands to where you can control them and to keep their hands away from you, that's half the battle, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So coming up now, it's the United Bowl coming up this weekend on Saturday. What are you doing as far as yourself in preparation for this, and how can you be of benefit to the Sioux Falls Storm during this week of preparation to get ready for that game?
Just watching film, making sure to keep my body healthy when I'm in there, doing scout team plays for the defense, making sure to try to give them the best look possible so that they can be as prepared, as they possibly can going into the game Saturday.
Now, when you watch film on a team and you're going to be running scout team, do you try to use some of the tendencies that you've seen on film, or you just go after them like you normally would?
I mean, I kind of ask them, what do they think they're going to see, or what have they seen in film that the guy that they're going to be competing against does, and then I try to kind of incorporate that into the kind of look I give them when we're in practice.
Well, that's what I mean about you being a team player, because you do the things that are asked of you. You go above and beyond, and you are helping everybody as you do it, and you're also making yourself better as you do it. And Rashad, I just appreciate so much of what you contribute to the Sioux Falls Storm.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll talk to you on Saturday.
All right.
He is Rashad Mungro. What a great job he did at center this weekend, and what a tremendous asset he has been to the Sioux Falls Storm the years that he has been in a Storm uniform. When we go to break, we'll take your third caller at 336-1230, 336-1230 for 4 free tickets to the United Bowl as the Storm takes on the Spokane Empire. On Saturdays, kickoff is at 7:05. You can hear the broadcast on our sister station, Keller News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9, and you're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show right here on KWSN. Back right after this.
If you haven't been to Eastway Sports Lounge...
When you think rugged, when you think tough, when you think big, think of the best transportation solutions, mile after mile. When you think big, think Boyer Trucks. Redefining the road.
You're listening to The Curtis Riggs Show, presented by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospital and Orthopedic Institute on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Back to your host, Rich Rosty.
And welcome back. This is our final segment with the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, brought to you by Good Sense Deli Fresh Subs of Sioux Falls, the best bread in town. And when we go off the air, we'll have the Wingstop ticket giveaway for free tickets to the United Bowl on Saturday. By the fan line, he is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, the Spokane Empire. You've played him a couple times this year in Sioux Falls. The Storm won 63-50. It got pretty interesting at the end, but the Storm prevailed. And then out in Washington, the Storm won 59-35. They have lost some key players, but they've gotten some back. My main question for you right now is, has Spokane become one-dimensional with the pass? Their quarterback had all 7 touchdowns against Nebraska this past week.
Oh, no, not at all. I don't think so. In fact, I think they maybe have a little more of a presence with the run game. With Kennedy, it was something to where he was so multi-dimensional that he could be used and spread you out. Now, I mean, they have a back that they can give him the ball and he'll carry some people. I mean, he is a true running back, and he has good hands where he can get out and catch the ball. But, I think he had over 100 all-purpose yards in their game against Nebraska. And
his name is Andrew Pierce, and he had 14 carries for 55 yards. He's also the kick returner. Dowdell carried the ball. He had 8 carries for 11 yards. But that was, like I said, that was an interesting game. One of the things that we had talked about in Touchdown earlier is Spokane's third quarter. Is 5 times this year that they've had a scoreless third quarter. What is something that they will be thinking of how to change that this week against the Sioux Falls Storm, that they want to come up with something different to be able to counteract that or be able to be productive in that second half? What are things that you're going to be preparing for that they might try to do?
Oh, well, we're not going to prepare for anything for the third quarter. I mean, we're going to prepare for the game, and that's purely what you do. And, when you go in at halftime, you make adjustments, and those are things you can't prepare for because the adjustments are purely off that first half. So, I don't think the third quarter is really anything that we can try to do or change or it's something that really for them it's in their mind, and hopefully it stays that way. And if they get a score, I'm sure it'll be a monkey off their back. And if they don't score the first drive in the third quarter, you'll see them be a little bit tighter and a little bit tighter, and hopefully it stays that way. But really, it just goes to those halftime adjustments, who can go in and kind of win that battle. And I feel good about our staff in that situation. I think we've always done a pretty good job there, and so hopefully that's something we can continue.
The Empire have 4 receivers. They lost Carl Sims, but now they had 4 receivers in that game against Nebraska that had multiple receptions. From a coaching staff's standpoint, is it easier or not as easy when you have a dominant receiver like Carl Sims, one, to prepare for him, or is it harder or easier to prepare your defense when you have multiple receivers to be concerned about?
Yeah, that's a great question, and usually I would say it's the latter is tougher, but we didn't have a way of stopping Carl, so I don't know if either one is a good situation for us right now. I think they don't really have a guy that has speed like Carl, and not many teams do have someone like that. But, yeah, I think the one area they're better now is Dowdell will spread the ball around now. I mean, you don't have that guy that you feel like you have to get the ball down the field to. Just take what the defense gives, and he did a good job against that in Nebraska versus Nebraska.
And they had Burrell. He had 6 catches, 64 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pierce had a touchdown reception out of 3 receptions that he had. Samuel Charles, 3 touchdowns. He was 3 catches for 31 yards, and Jefferson Hayes had 2 for 64 yards. So they did spread the wealth very much, but Charles and Burrell were the 2 that got the most touchdowns in that last game.
And it seemed like Burrell was the guy they were trying to go to early on. He's really got a good feel for the game. It seems like a very intelligent receiver and does a nice job sitting in zones and finds a good window for the quarterback to throw to him.
Defensively, they have a guy by the name of Pasquale Vacchio. He had 9.5 tackles. He had a couple of Toby Jackson had a couple of sacks. They have a couple. Those 2 guys were really dominant in that game. Tell us about the defense of the Empire and how it concerns the Sioux Falls Storm.
Well, it's a very aggressive team, a very aggressive defense. Bacquiao especially is a guy that's really going to come downhill hard. Robert Brown's a guy that's going to take a lot of chances. Robinson will take a lot of chances and definitely hit you when given the chance. And I thought that they came out and played with a chip on their shoulder. I thought their team did. I thought they came out and really played like they had something to prove to show everyone, hey, we are the best team in this division, and it's really not even close. And they played that way the first half.
So this game, the Sioux Falls Storm going after their 6th United Bowl championship, the 7th year in a row the Sioux Falls Storm has been playing in this ball game. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It's a new game coming up this Saturday against a new opponent, a coach that you're very familiar with, however. But what are the keys in your mind that it's going to take for the Sioux Falls Storm to get that win?
Well, I think it really is as simple as it's a lot like last week. I mean, we have to just take what they give, manage the game, and, try to make the most of the opportunities given. Try to limit our mistakes and take the advantage of their mistakes. That bend but don't break mentality defensively. And as Lorenzo comes out and manages the game, and we can play like we did in the trenches, with or without Charlie, I think we'll be a tough team to beat. I mean, it's really the base of our success. If the guys up front can do what they do, and then we just manage the game, not try to create, just manage, we should be a tough out.
Sometimes in the past, I've seen that Coach Shackelford is a bit of a gambler. He does things a little bit on the edge. Do you anticipate things like onside kicks in the middle of the game, or maybe some trickery or some special gadget types of plays out of him? Or is he going to just come at you with what you have?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Rich. I think, you and I both know Coach Shack well enough that you got to expect anything and everything. Yeah. Onside kicks, multiple ways, multiple times, fake field goals, trick plays of some sort. I think you got to expect it all and not be surprised by any of it. So our defense and our offense, you got to expect anything and be ready for everything.
There's no doubt about that. Well, Coach, we'll talk to you on Saturday. It doesn't get old, does it?
No. As they say, it's an expectation. There's still a sense of gratitude that we're able to have this opportunity, but also excitement to have this opportunity and be a part of it.
No doubt about it. Talk to you Saturday.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
He is the head coach of the Sioux Falls Storm, Curtis Riggs, and always great to talk to him. And it's going to be an interesting game. Coach Shackelford, we've seen him before many times when he was with the Tri-City Fever, and he is an interesting coach. He pulls no punches, and he will pull anything he can to give his team an opportunity. A great guy to be around, great guy to talk to, and a fierce competitor. And he will have the Spokane Empire ready for this game on Saturday. Just a reminder, the IFL will have a press conference at 3 o'clock at the Denny Sanford Premier Center at 3 o'clock Friday, and that will be carried live by KWSN. It'll also be streamed out through KWSN streaming, so fans all around the league can be able to tune in and listen to that. I'll be there, and we're going to try to grab some interviews after it's over and talk with some of the principals of this contest, and it should be a very good show on Friday starting at 3 o'clock right here on KWSN. After we go off the air, we'll give 4 free tickets to the United Bowl on Saturday. And if you can't make it to the game, you can hear the broadcast on our sister station, Kella News Talk, AM 1320 and FM 107.9, starting pregame show 6:45. Former Storm head coach Mike Aldrich and I will have the call for you. And this has been the Curtis Riggs Show. Our thanks to Jim Loria, Brandon Pegues, and Rashad Mungro, along with the head coach, Curtis Riggs. The Curtis Riggs Show is proudly presented each week by Sioux Falls Specialty Hospitals, the Storm official healthcare team, and by Orthopedic Institute, the one to trust. Thank you to John Michaels, our KWSN producer and engineer, and also all of you for listening to our broadcast today. Coming up next, we've got Canaries baseball with J.J. Hardigan. And you've been listening to the Curtis Riggs Show right here on Sioux Falls Sports Radio, AM 1230 and FM 98.1 KWSN. Have a great evening. Good night, everybody.
Eastway Bowl is more than just bowling. It's a full experience entertainment center. Like us on Facebook and visit our website to learn more about the full experience at Eastway Bowl.